So the place to start is always with defining the inputs to our program. So let's look at how this program is shown that we want it to work. And as always, in the output directory is a solution that you can run and that you can refer to. And if I run this with -h, I need to point out a little bit of meta language that's going on here in the help. When an argument is shown in square brackets, that means that it's optional. So here we're saying solution needs to be run with optionally some file, optionally followed by another file, and maybe more of those. So we need to define a file argument that needs 0 or more. So maybe 1, maybe more than 1. And it's going to look like this when we run it with the argparse output. So how do we program that? Let's start off with saying new py. The program is supposed to be called wc, and it's supposed to be here in the 06 wc directory. Now let's open our program, and we're going to change the purpose to word count. Should have provided this on the command line. Word count, and we don't. We're going to change. We do need a positional argument, but we're going to just change the one that is a file argument, and then we're going to talk about that for just a minute. Let me clean this up a little bit, and we don't need this boolean. So this is a good start for where we're going to what we need for our program. It's not a file option though. This is required. It's going to be a positional. It's not required, but it is a positional argument. We're going to call it file, and this would be the help for this would be like input files. And one of the things that we're going to be able to do here is we're going to use the inargs option here, but up to this point we've used inargs plus. Actually, have we used? Yes, we've used inargs plus to have 1 or more, like in the picnic. And here we're able to say we want. We could say, for instance, if we use plus, that we want 1 or more of these file arguments, but we actually want 0 or more. So that's going to be star. For what it's worth, I include a little table here where the question mark means 0 or 1. The star means 0 or more, and the plus means 1 or more. So this is something that we've done before with picnic. Inargs equals plus for 1 or more. Here we're going to do inargs is equal to star for 0 or more. Something we haven't talked about yet, we haven't used this, is that we can have argparse validate the inputs as readable files. So, and we do that by using type equals argparse.FileType R. We could even say RT. To say that these need to be readable text files. Just R here is fine. The default, we don't need a default in this instance because the program can run with 0, so there doesn't need to be a default. There can be 0 input files. And when there is 0, when there are no input files, we're actually going to learn how to read from standard in. Actually, sorry, that means that the default is going to be a list of files that includes just sys.standardin. So let's talk about what all of that means. So we haven't really talked about, we haven't talked about standard in at all. We have talked about standard out in that when you do print, when you say print in, if I open up a Python terminal and I say print hello, that print goes to standard out. It's the same as saying file equals, and for this I have to import sys. I can say print hello to file equals sys.standardout. And I don't have to open sys.standardout. It's always open. It's a file handle that's always there. I can print to it. It's the standard place for output to occur. It's standard out. When I print from inside of a Python script, standard out is just it printing to the console, and we can redirect the output into files. And so and we can also you've now seen that we can pipe standard out as standard in to another program. So just the way that I showed you that WC can read from standard in, if we are able, we can also read from standard in, and the the name for that in Python that we use is sys.standardin. So this is all kind of a bit to understand, but what we're doing here is we're saying we're defining a positional argument called file. The help for this is input files. Inargs star means that there can be 0 or more. This metavar is what's going to show up in the help. The type, if anything is provided, the type of those arguments need to be readable files. And if nothing is provided by the user, then the default we're going to use is a list that's composed just of sys.standardin. And the reason it's a list is because inargs is going to make this into a list. So we want the default thing to be a list as well. So let me show you how this works. If we run this program up to this point, we look at this, I can say print, let's just say print args.file for the moment and see what we have. So if I run WC, actually I can run it from here, WC, and I run it with nothing. Oh, let's run it with the README file. And it shows that we have a single we have a list that contains a single value that is a readable file handle that's been opened in the reading mode, and it's the name of this is the readme.md. So this seems to work so far, and let's keep going.